In this episode of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, we visit with Bengals head coach Zac Taylor, fresh off a 5-year contract extension to the year 2026. What a season the Cincinnati Bengals had. Make a run through the playoffs after winning the AFC North, run through the playoffs all the way to Super Bowl 56. And it was there for the taking, just couldn't quite grab it. We'll talk to Coach Taylor about that, about his football team, about the future of his football team, about free agency, about the draft, and about his vacation, which he certainly deserves. I think you're going to like our conversation with Zac Taylor. Welcome once again to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, and our special guest, and I mean special guest today, head coach Zac Taylor. And good news is, going to be head coach with the Cincinnati Bengals till at least 2026. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on that contract extension. Obviously, well-earned and well-deserved. I mean, you got to be happy and your family has to be thrilled.
Well, of course, it is exciting. I think it's exciting for everybody to know that we get a chance to continue what we built on. And like I said yesterday, that's everybody in the building, all feeling like we get an opportunity to continue to move forward, build upon the things that we've done. I think, after the longest season in NFL history, we're ready for a vacation. But I mean it when I say after a day, off, all you want to do is get back and finish the deal. And so I think that's kind of how everybody feels right now.
It was one of the most watched Super Bowls in television history. I mean, the numbers were crazy. And I think you picked up a lot of fans, not just in the tri-state area. I'm talking worldwide, because as we know, the Super Bowl is a worldwide event. And to put on the show that you put on was phenomenal. Obviously, a heartbreaking end to the Super Bowl. But when you have had time now to look back on the tape, what's your biggest takeaway from that game?
We just needed one more score on offense or one more stop on defense. And there's a lot of areas where we played really good football. I thought overall our defense from start to finish played tremendously and really did a good job limiting their run game. Really didn't give up hardly any explosive passes. There were often times where they tried to take some shots on us and our guys forced them to check it down, and really did a good job putting pressure on them. And we just needed that one more stop at the end. And you could argue in some ways some of our guys made those stops and the drive continued on. And then offensively, we just needed one more than the second half. I thought really from after the first 2 drives of the game, which we weren't very effective, we put together a nice string of series there that went through the second half, through the third quarter there, and then we just couldn't get it done there. Those last 4 or 5 possessions in the game, and that was unfortunate because there was a lot of good things that happened. We just couldn't quite finish it off.
Third quarter, you make mention of, including the Super Bowl, where you outscored the Rams 10-3 in the third quarter to take that lead, that 20-16 lead in the football game. Add up regular season and all postseason third quarters, you outscored the opposition by 87 points in the third quarter. That's mind-boggling. What was the key to that? Why do you think you came out and played so well out of the locker room at halftime in the third quarter?
Sometimes it's just we feel like we're getting a good rhythm. You got to feel for what the other team's trying to do to you. I think that's one thing we really started to notice on offense for sure was because of all the weapons we have in the run game and the pass game and our quarterback, what we planned for defensively was not what we got. A lot of teams changed up, and that's really a compliment to our guys on offense. Is people felt like they needed to play us differently than they played a lot of different teams, and so some of that took some adjustment for us as the first half wore on. To okay, here's their plan. Here's what we need to go to on the call sheet to really attack that. And so that's why I felt like we always started to have success there in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and that's something we're gonna have to improve upon next year. To be able to start faster, and that starts with me putting our guys in the best position to where we can play with more leads, and we're not gonna have to be the comeback kids. Where we're down 7 points or 10 points or 14 points and come back and win the games that way. It's, we got to find ways to start faster. But, I think the third quarter in the Super Bowl was kind of how we played all year in the third quarter, where we've been able to put together some good drives and get some good stops.
What did the Rams do a little bit differently, Coach, defensively that you might not have anticipated?
I wouldn't say there was anything we didn't anticipate. We anticipated that rush being a monster.
Yeah.
And they play a personnel group. Usually we're seeing nickel 42, 40 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 DBs. And they make a lot of hay in their nickel 51 looks, where they put Leonard Floyd and Von Miller out there on the edges. They got Aaron Donald inside with 91 and 94 also. And so what that does is it forces 5 one-on-ones in protection. And so then you got to utilize your tight ends, your backs to be the guys that are helping. And then that limits your checkdowns. And so they've done a great job, employing some zone schemes behind it with some really talented DBs, and creating that rush up front where they really stress you in your protections. And they do a good job taking the play actions out of it, because what are you play actioning? They got 5 D linemen in there, and they're really stressing your matchups that way. And so we'd seen that on the tape. We knew the struggles teams had faced was when they got down by 7 points, and then the pass rush just tees off. And that's a little bit what happened. We did a good job in the first half managing all that. We had 1 sack at halftime, and it was really at the end of the second quarter, in a 2-minute drill, didn't call a great play on a third down, and they got us a sack. In the second half, we dropped back a little bit more, and those guys did what they do, and they got to the quarterback and they hit us a couple times and made it tough for us.
I know it took me a while to even watch the tape. After the Super Bowl I played in when we lost that Super Bowl, but when I, looked at parts of it, and I still haven't watched that whole game in its entirety from start to finish. I just can't bring myself to do it. But when I watch parts of it, it's like, oh man, if I had just done this, if I had just done that, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way. If I had just done this, just done that, one play could change the outcome of these less than 1 score games. I guess in hindsight, if there were 1 or 2 things that come to mind for you that you might have done differently, what might those be?
Well, I think I think when you play the Rams in a defense like that, you walk away feeling like, man, we should have done some things differently. I think everybody that's played them this year has felt that way. The teams that really beat them scored on defense. You look at the Packers and the Titans. Those are the 2 teams that they both scored on defense, and then they both had returns down to the 2-yard line and finished off. And they played with the leads that way because of those. And we won the turnover battle 2-0. Our defense did a great job. So we knew that teams hadn't just got out there and scored 30 points, on their own free will. It was going to be tough. And so I think when you look at some plays that we liked that maybe went for 0 yards or 1 yard, those were plays we liked. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. They made some stops on us that made it tough. And they did a good job tackling in space. That was one of the ways we wanted to attack them, was get the ball in the perimeter, get the ball quick, and force them to tackle us. And they did a good job of that. They were under control. They played with good leverage. Vaughn and Leonard Floyd and those backers did a really good job tackling in space, and that's an area we've had a lot of success in. And I thought they did a good job matching that. And that led to some 0-yard gains and some opportunities where we were hoping to get 6 or 7 yards on normal downs.
During the course of the game, and this has taken on a life of its own. I was watching NFL Network this morning. They were talking about, Samaje Perine running the ball on 3rd and 1 instead of Joe Mixon, and they had audio of you saying, no, leave him in there. Samaje Perine's 235 pounds. I mean, I don't care if Jim Brown's running the ball. The way that thing unfolded, to me, it was like the running back wasn't the issue. The issue was other areas a little bit. But what about that? Do you think that in hindsight and retrospect, do you regret not having Joe Mixon in there at all, or are you good with
it? Yeah, I really do hate that narrative for Samaje's sake, because Samaje has been a workhorse for us in a lot of different areas. And when he's gotten carries, he's done a great job. He's done a tremendous job in the screen game. He's had close to 35 catches on the season. He scored in the AFC Championship game, and so we've got all the confidence in the world in Samaje. The way the play played out, there wasn't a lot there. Better play call. Aaron Donald made a tremendous play with 91 right there next to him.
Yep.
There wasn't a lot there, and that's on me. The point that I made was, Joe Mixon has been our feature back all season, and so in hindsight, just for him to have the opportunity whether it worked out or not. That's all that I was really saying at the end of the day was he was deserving of that opportunity. And so, yeah, do I regret him not getting the opportunity? Would it have played out any differently? I have no idea.
Right.
I don't think anybody does know that, but it just didn't work out. And you could have been saying the same thing if Tennessee had gone down and scored on the final drive of the game instead of Logan getting that pick. There's probably play calls I would have looked back and said, "Man, I wish I would have done this," but they don't come up because you won, and
Yep.
same thing with the Chiefs game, and then when you lose the game, we end up being like the 30 other teams where they're second guessing their last call of the game in a critical moment,
Yep.
and that's just the way it plays out, and we know what we signed up for, that kind of criticism that's going to come with that, and we embrace that, and that gives us something to fuel ourselves for next year.
Jackson Carman didn't play, from scrimmage in the Super Bowl. He played in some special team snaps, I think, and he had played like 51% of the snaps in that rotation by series, even in the AFC Championship game. Was his back bothering him, or was it just the decision to go the route you went? Was there anything more than that, or?
Yeah, he was limited a lot in practice. He got a couple full practices in, but it was kind of a roller coaster with the back, and with the matchup that we had at that spot. You need a young guy to really feel confident and feel fully healthy to embrace that matchup. And so Hakeem had gotten a ton of reps. Hakeem was ready for it. And so we made the decision to go with Hakeem.
And Coach, again, the injury, Joe Burrow initially sprained that MCL sometime in December. I remember him limping around on that right knee, and there were regular season games to play, and he just toughed it out. And then he got tweaked a little bit and twisted in that Super Bowl and toughed it out. That MCL, the MRI has shown that it's going to heal on its own. No surgery necessary.
Right. I think rest is going to be the best thing for it. But certainly when he got twisted up, it's happened a couple times to him, like you mentioned, over the course of the season. You can only imagine the pain that you're going through as your knee feels the way it does. And so for him to finish the game the way he did and give us an opportunity to win the Super Bowl is amazing when you think about it. But I think now the best thing for him is just rest and maybe forces him to sit on his couch a little bit. I doubt that's what he's going to do, but being the guy he is, but he's deserving of some rest time right now.
I'll tell you, boy, that guy, that's a football player. That is a tough football player. There is no two ways about that. And then CJ Uzomah, significant injury, normally would take a month or two. He's back in 2 weeks playing in the Super Bowl. No additional damage to that. Is he looking at just rest and recovery as well and no surgery?
That's where it was headed. He was getting an MRI yesterday. I haven't yet heard back on the results of it, but things were encouraging from all the updates I'd gotten so far. And like you mentioned, it's normally a 1 to 2 month injury that's going to require some rest. He refused to that, and I know he was pretty sore after the game, which you would expect. He got hit on a couple times on one of those early catches he had, and didn't say a word about it, and just kept playing. And we needed him, and so again, that tells you the type of guy CJ is.
So his is an MCL sprain as well. Is it the same type of situation that Joe's looking at?
Yeah, it appears to be the same type of situation.
And really, you look at it, after the longest season in NFL history, like you described, Coach, to have nobody having to go under the knife as such in the offseason is remarkable. It's phenomenal. And I mean, health, avoiding a major injury, knock on wood. I mean, now that the season's over, I guess I don't have to knock on wood, but that was a big factor, wasn't it, in your success?
There's no question. Guys staying healthy and being able to take care of their bodies, and there will be some cleanup procedures guys will choose to undergo. So it's not all done yet, but again, we anticipate everybody on our team being ready to go for next season, which is a positive. We didn't feel that way coming out of last season with the unknown of DJ Reader and CJ and Trey Hopkins and Joe Burrow and a lot of premier players that we have. There was a lot of unknowns we knew going into training camp, and it appears that we've dodged that bullet this year. So that's a credit to the players. That's a credit to Joey Bose and his strength staff doing a great job managing those guys in the weight room and with the conditioning over the course of the season, and they've done a really good job.
Coach, I don't want to put you on the spot about criticizing officials as such, but I'm from a philosophical standpoint. 6 penalties were called during the course of the football game, and 4 of them were in a 12-second time period where, there were offsetting penalties on one. So that is 2 of the flags. But it seems like all game, let's let them play. Let's let the players decide the outcome of the football game. And then you have a situation where you have Logan Wilson, a linebacker, on maybe the best wide receiver in football, and the official's a human, and he's saying, oh, that's a mismatch. What's he going to do to try to cover him? He can't cover him. And I think they look, almost looking for something like that, and they call a ticky-tack holding penalty on 3rd and 8 that would have put him in a 4th and 8 situation. It's just unfortunate that all game long it's one philosophy, and then at crunch time it becomes this ticky-tack, another philosophy. How frustrating can that be for players and coaches?
It's obviously we wanted to win the Super Bowl, and we would have had a better opportunity if they were faced with 4th and goal from the 8. But
right.
I can't put myself in the official shoes. It's hard. They got to call it like they see it, and so they saw penalties there and they called them, and that's just we got to live with that. And again, there's not much else to say about it, really.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I know how frustrated I was, so I can imagine the frustration level that you guys were going through. Okay, so get on the doorstep of the Super Bowl, have a lead in the final stages of the Super Bowl, and it's there for the taking. Just can't quite grab and hold on. But this football team, so many accomplishments. I mean, it's such an unbelievable season. When you have time to reflect, I mean, what's the first thing you think about when you think about this 2021 or 21-22, I should say, football team that put it on the line for you like they did, Coach?
Just how hard our guys played, how well they maintain their consistency through practice. It's the longest season in NFL history. It's the first time we've ever played 17 games. It finished on February 13th, where my brother coaches for the Colts. Now he's with the Jaguars. He'd been on vacation for 6 weeks by the time that we played the game.
Right.
He was at the Super Bowl. He's like, I've had a great last 5 weeks. I've been on vacation, and he's just starting work, the day after the Super Bowl. Like a lot of teams finish the season and they say, hey, we'll see you after the Super Bowl to the coaches. We worked through that, and our players worked through that. And so just for them to maintain that consistency level is speaks to the character of the team. To win the close games that we did down the stretch, that speaks to the character of our players and the resolve that our guys have and the trust that they have in the other unit. Hey, if I get this stop, the offense is going to go score and win the game. If we score, the defense is going to get a stop and we're going to win the game, like the Raiders game. If we can just get the ball, get a stop, move the ball on offense, our special teams is going to finish it with a field goal. We just knew it was one of those years, those special seasons you have, and maybe this is when you went to the Super Bowl as well. You just knew your team was going to find a way, regardless of what the score was in the third quarter. We're going to win. I don't know how, but someone's going to make a play that's going to win us the game, and that just kept happening over and over and over. And we certainly felt that in the Super Bowl. Where someone's going to make the play, and we're going to win the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, we came in on the short end of it, but that was certainly the sense that we had.
Okay, now I'm looking at, as I'm preparing for this Super Bowl, I'm saying, you know what? The Rams have their stars. It's Hollywood. It's L.A. They have their star players, and the stars are really stars. I mean, they're 5 stars. But I liked our roster, the Bengals roster, from top to bottom. I thought there were more better players than on the Rams roster. I'm not saying their superstars aren't super. They're great players, and they showed up and made plays when the game had to be won and all that sort of thing. But I think that this roster is pretty darn good. Now you go out into free agency with some money to spend, and you've got a head coach that just got a 5-year extension that has built a hell of a culture, and the players love him. And you've got a quarterback that's as good as there is in the league that's going to be there for a while. If I'm a free agent and the Bengals are on my top 3, I'm considering the Cincinnati Bengals. Are you excited about what might unfold for you in free agency?
Well, yeah, and it really starts with our own guys. We've got some guys that are going to be free agents that they know how we feel about them, and we'll go through that process with them. But that to me is a great starting point where you get a chance to, how do we want to attack our own guys first, and then see where we need to fill in around that. And there'll be a couple spots where we'll attempt to do that, but I think that's the greatest position we can be in, to where you can really just hone in on a couple spots there to make your roster as good as it can be. So again, I wouldn't trade our team from top to bottom for any other team. So
Yeah.
you mentioned whether it's this team's got this amount of 5 stars or 3 stars, whatever it is, from top to bottom. I'll take our team in a battle against any other team in the NFL, and I think that we proved that to be true this year.
I couldn't agree with you more. 6 weeks, like you say, it's a 6-week delay in terms of, studying other free agents that are out there, getting ready for the draft and all that sort of thing. And you guys deserve a vacation. You deserve a break. That's been well earned and well deserved. Are you going to go have some fun in the sun somewhere for a little bit, Coach, and then start attacking the free agency and the draft? What's up for the Taylor family?
Yeah, I'll take my wife down to Florida. We're going to go next week down to Florida and spend a week down there. And the beauty of it, though, for this offseason, us being behind is what Zoom has done for us, in the scouting process. And people can be somewhere. People can be in Florida. And if you need to have an hour conversation about free agency, send me the Zoom link, and I'll be sitting on the beach. But I can be a part of the conversation, and so I think that's where things change. It really helps us for the combine seg with the coaches because, as of 3 years ago, you need to go to the combine prepared to talk to these players. You need to know everything about them because you have that 20-minute window to answer some questions. And otherwise you're going to be talking to them on the phone, over the next 2 months, which is difficult. Now with Zoom, we don't feel the pressure to get to know the player as well from an X's and O's standpoint because we can spend the next 50 days after that Zooming them and watching tape with them. And so again, it takes a little bit of the pressure off having to have everything locked in from the coaching side for the combine. Our scouts have all that done. They'll have the reports that we can read. They'll give us an overview of the players, and then we can spend the next 50 days after that getting ready for the draft.
You talked about the players and the evaluation of the players and re-signing some of your own unrestricted free agents and things of that nature. Your coaching staff, with success comes opportunity. And Lou Anarumo, Ryan Callahan both had interviews for head coaching possibilities, and deservedly so. Al Golden just took an opportunity with Notre Dame to be the defensive coordinator up there for 3 years, a 3-year deal. Do you think pretty much your coaching staff will return intact, Zach? Do you expect much turnover there?
I expect very little turnover. Al's the one that you mentioned. He's got a great opportunity to go to Notre Dame, be the D coordinator. That's something he had to do, and I'm happy for him and his family. I expect very little turnover outside of that. We'll see how it plays out here in the next week. But I feel really good about the staff coming back next year and getting an opportunity to do everything we can to get back to where we were.
Run it back. I like it. What about the job that Al Golden did with those young linebackers, Pratt and Wilson? They had great years, and both of them during the course of the season in pressures and so forth, they were quick to praise Al Golden, and his ability as a coach and a teacher. He's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, he did a great job. He took Jermaine in the second year and helped him to continue to grow, and then was a big part of the process where we drafted, Logan and Akeem and Marcus Bailey, and then through the injuries to Jordan Evans, he helped Joe Bacci get a fit in here, Clay Johnston, Keandre Jones, all these guys, Austin Calitro. You just think of all the different names that we played out there this year. Al did such a great job managing those 8 or 9 guys that all had to start games for us and getting them to play at a very high level. And so, again, he did a great job helping develop that room. And obviously the next guys get some big shoes to fill.
Names like that you mentioned, Coach. Trent Taylor is another guy that comes to mind with that 2-point conversion reception he had and what he did as a punt returner. So many guys kept themselves ready to contribute, whether it be off the practice squad, the back end of the active roster, whatever it may be. And that's twofold praise, I think. The player, keeping the nose in the playbook and staying physically and mentally ready, working out and working hard in practice. And the coaches, keeping them up to speed, continuing the development. Make sure that we're making this adjustment on this play and that, whatever the case may be in that regard. For everybody to step up and contribute, like so many players did to this football team, I think is a big thing that I'm going to remember about this season.
I agree with you. That's a credit to the players. Everybody knowing that there's going to be an opportunity for them, and they can't miss the opportunity, so they got to be ready. And the coaches staying on top of them and making sure that when they do get that opportunity, they're ready and they're prepared and they can make the most of it. And I think one of the roster management things that's come up because of COVID is this standard elevations, where all the practice squad guys know it doesn't have to be a transaction. It doesn't have to be they're signing me to the active roster and then cutting me and I'm going to go on waivers. And with these two standard elevations you get from the practice squad, all these guys know that on a moment's notice they can be elevated, and it's a lot simpler than it was in the past. And there's more opportunities for these practice squad players to get up and help, because it's really become a 55-man roster instead of a 53-man roster. And so I think that's given some hope to a lot of the guys that know that, hey, I can come up and it doesn't have to be the big roster management issue that it used to be. And that's played a part in these guys knowing that they got to be ready for their opportunities, because they're going to get more of them than they got in the past.
Yeah, no question about it. That's a great point. Joe Burrow. I guess we got to talk about a guy named Joe Burrow. Everybody is. The whole world is talking about Joe Burrow right now. I haven't seen many players that have as high a floor as Joe Burrow has and had, but his ceiling is also extremely high. I mean, there's still a lot to get out of Joe Burrow. He's still got a high ceiling, doesn't he, Coach?
Absolutely. He is. I think he really improved almost in he's just seen every situation now, and he's going to continue to see some more next year and learn from that. And you just see a lot of these great quarterbacks in this league, Hall of Fame type quarterbacks in this league, really hit their strides in years 5 through 8, and became the players that they were through year 15. And everybody saw the potential there their first 4 years. But Joe has really, he's on the front end of that, where in his second year did all the things as the comeback player of the year, helped take this team to the Super Bowl. He's on the front end of a lot of those guys who've had great careers. And again, he hasn't even hit his full potential yet. And he's going to continue to work hard. And I know he's excited about an offseason where he's not rehabbing for 6 months, and he's going to get some rest. And I think that knee will feel better once he gets some rest, and then he gets a chance to have a normal offseason for the first time ever in his NFL career, because he didn't join the team until May of his rookie year, and we had COVID, so he didn't show up until August for his first practice. Last year, he wasn't able to practice until August, and now he actually gets a chance to go through once that knee heals up, and we get a chance to have our offseason program. What a great opportunity for him to finally have the first normal year he's ever had in the NFL.
That's a phenomenal point. Okay, Coach, get you out of here on this, and can't thank you enough for carving time like you have. I know you must be sleep deprived. I'm just starting to recover from lack of sleep, so I can imagine what you're like with your schedule and what you've done. My gosh, can't even fathom it. Fan engagement. I mean, the fans just loved this football team, bought in totally. Total support. It was phenomenal to see as a former player and being around this organization for a number of years, and the game balls at the local establishments that you came up with during the playoffs. Just another way, social media, all the ways that you're interacting and engaging fans. But that face to face with fans at the local watering hole, with the game ball. And you said you're going to continue that for every playoff victory that the Bengals have in the future, as long as you're with the Cincinnati Bengals. Phenomenal idea. How'd you come up with it? And congratulations on that one.
I appreciate it. I really, I say it really started 3 years ago. And honestly, when I leave Paul Brown Stadium every day and I drive down to Columbia Parkway and head home, so many times I've envisioned what a parade would be like, in downtown Cincinnati. And that's the first dream. It's you envision your future reality, and that's kind of what I've always motivates me, is to bring that to the fan base and this organization. And then as I get closer to home, and I pass some of those local establishments that you mentioned, and after a game, you see the jerseys in there and they're all having a good time. That's not something as coaches we ever enjoy as players and coaches during the season. And so I just thought, man, it would be really cool after the first playoff win if we're able to involve the fans that way. I parked my car. There's a bank next door to Mount Lookout Tavern. I had 3 childhood friends in the car, and I don't have a big car. I had 3 of my childhood friends in the car with me that were coming back to my house. I had probably 5 kids, my 2 sons and 3 of their friends. I had too many people in the car, that's for sure. And I parked in it, and my friend said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I gotta take this ball in this bar real quick. I'll be right back. Don't worry, I'll be right back." And he said, "You want me to come in and film it?" I said, "No, I don't want anybody to film it. I'm just gonna sneak in there. I'm gonna make a quick presentation. I'm gonna throw it in the crowd, and I'm gonna be out 2 seconds." Well, I get in there, and I realize that's not a reality. It's people are taking pictures of me. I try to hide in the back, and then I finally get it set up and say, "Hey, can you just clear that stage off?" And me and Huber will get up there and make a quick presentation. I got up on that stage, and it was 50 people with their phones up instantly. I'm thinking, well, this is going the way I envisioned it going. And so I threw it in the crowd, and I was out the door within 2 seconds. My friend, who doesn't even live here, he lives in New York City, I texted him, "You got to take all these kids home to their houses." And so he's got 9-year-old boys driving him through Mount Lookout, trying to say, "I live here, I live here, I live here." So I actually stood outside the bar and I walked and hid, by the church right there, waiting on my friend who has no idea where he's going to come pick me back up to take me home. So that's kind of the full story. It's probably overall a 30-minute process. I snuck in, I hid in the back for probably 15 minutes, did the presentation for 3 minutes, and then kind of hid out by the church for about 10 more minutes, waiting on my friend Brett to come pick me up. So, but it was cool. It's, you get a lot of feedback. A lot of people want the game balls, obviously. It's a neat deal. I think it's a source of pride for a lot of people. A lot of those restaurants went through some really tough times over the last 2 years with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wasn't the intent, to be completely honest with you. But in hindsight, man, how cool that's been to kind of bring attention back to a lot of the local establishments and the staffs that went through some tough times. And I think that's been really cool, just with us winning and the people being in the bars in January and celebrating and all the money that's come from that to those establishments. The game balls helped, but just rest assured for the fans, this thing's going on for 50 years. And so a lot of the people want the game balls now. If we gave them to everybody now, there's nothing to do over the next 40 years, and we anticipate this going on for a long time. And there's going to be plenty of time to hit other places in Cincinnati, other places in Northern Kentucky, Mason, bars throughout Ohio, bars throughout the country, bars throughout the world, so there's a much broader plan in place that can take shape in future years. And you got to start small and start to build it up. But we want everybody who's a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, citywide, statewide, nationwide, worldwide, to be able to take a part in the future of our success here.
I just see such a common path of resiliency and persistence. The Bengals, 2 years struggled a little bit and then turn it around and go to the Super Bowl. COVID, with these businesses, they have to be persistent and resilient. I just see that common path that we're taking, and now you're meshing it together. Synergistic, Coach. 1 + 1 = 3. That's a brilliant deal right there, Coach Taylor. Brilliant.
I don't know that anyone's ever called me brilliant, but this has worked out. It's been fun for us, to interact with the fans that way and see the passion firsthand. We feel it in the stadium. We feel it immediately outside the stadium on the buses as we pull in. But this is really the first opportunity we've had to get out there with the general public and be able to enjoy, what they're going through and share that with them.
Coach, I know I've taken way too much of your time. It's valuable time, and thanks for giving it to us. Enjoy the South. Take your lovely wife, Sarah, to the beach. Enjoy the sand and the sun. You deserve it, Coach. Congratulations on one hell of a season.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Dave.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Brakes? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.